Detective Wolff, we were talking about, I guess, Detective Upchurch going down the Burnside. I'm not going to ask you what happened or what got said or anything like that, but were you given information that caused you then to go talk with, or attempt to go talk to Mr. Malazzo?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also become aware on that day that Shalonda Malazzo had been arrested?
Yes.
Okay. On the 30th, did you go talk to Dewan Malazzo?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what were you going to talk to him about?
On the 30th, the reason for going to talk to Dewan Malazzo really revolved around the fact that his wife had just been arrested, and in assisting with getting rid of tampering with physical evidence in a police investigation. So on that date, myself and Detective McCown went to speak with Mr. Malazzo.
Okay. And in that meeting or in that interview with him, did he indicate whether he knew Mr. Canada?
He stated that he did not know Mr. Defendant Canada.
What else did you do on that day?
On the 30th of July, in addition to having a conversation with Defendant Malazzo, I went to the Kentucky State Police Laboratory for the purpose of delivering 5 shell casings that had been collected the day before by Detective Upchurch and Schoonover in Somerset, Kentucky. And I guess further to answer on that question, the purpose of that was to have the firearms examiner examine the shell casings that Detective Upchurch had collected from the victim of the robbery and compare those to the shell casing that had been collected on June the 21st at Austin City to determine whether or not they were fired from the same gun.
On that same day, did you also listen to a recording or a conversation between Dewan Malazzo and his wife, Shalonda?
Yes, I did.
Have you since listened to that recording?
I have.
And does it fairly and accurately represent the recording if you heard it back on the 30th?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Detective Wolff, we were talking about, let's see, listening to a recording between Dewan Malazzo and his wife that you listened to, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll play that a little bit later. But at that point, were you aware that she had thrown a hat in the dumpster?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know the significance of that hat at that point?
No, I did not.
Okay. At some point, did you review the Daily Stop video?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. And do you remember what angles you viewed?
I reviewed 3 different angles. The initial angle that was reviewed received from Brian Maxwell and reviewed was an angle from outside of the business that showed vehicles as they came into the Woodhill Shopping Center, and also an overview of the drive-through to the Danny Scott liquor store.
Did you also, at some point, listen to calls made by Mr. Malazan and Mr. Canada?
Yes, I did.
Did you hear how they refer to each other?
Yes, I did.
How do they refer to each other?
Mr. Malazan frequently referred to defendant Canada by the name of nephew, and in turn, defendant Canada referred to defendant Malazan by the name of Unc.
Are the two of them related?
They are by marriage.
Okay. And how are they related by marriage?
Defendant Malazan is married to Shalonda Malazan. Shalonda Malazan's maiden name is Shalonda Smith. Shalonda Smith is Quincinio Canada's aunt. So Quincinio Canada's father and Shalonda Malazan are brother and sister.
At some point, in reviewing the Danny Scott video, did you see an image of an individual who appeared to be wearing a New York Yankees hat?
Yes. When we first started watching the Danny Scott video, from the angle that I just described, we were looking to further identify a silver vehicle that had earlier been seen in the video at the Mariana Tienda, or on the Mariana Tienda video. And while watching that original angle, we observed the vehicle make a wide turn and turn into the liquor store drive-through. That vehicle was, from the front, appeared to be a Chevrolet Malibu that was silver.
Okay. Detective Wolff, let me kind of narrow this down.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. In reviewing the video, in the angle that you saw the drive-through of Danny Scott video, did you see an image of a person who appeared to be wearing a New York Yankees hat?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Were you aware, I think you said, that Shalonda Malazan had thrown a New York Yankees hat in the dumpster?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Based on that, what did you do with the hat?
Based on that, we sent the hat off to the Kentucky State Police Laboratory.
Okay. For what purpose?
For the purpose of having it examined for the presence of DNA.
Did you also notice, you talked about the video angles from Danny Scott video. Were there was more than one angle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, at some point, initially, what angles did you receive?
Again, initially, the angle that I described, it was on the exterior of the liquor store on the same side as the drive-through, and it was kind of an overview of that side of the business that captured the drive-through and the entrance to the Woodhill Shopping Center.
Okay. And then at some point, did you realize that there was an additional camera?
Yes, we recontacted Brian Maxwell, again, the custodian of their video systems, and asked if there was another camera that would capture the person at the drive-through window. We were advised that there was, and we then were able to get that portion of the video.
And when did you know when you got that portion of the video?
I believe it was on the same day. I think that was very quickly.
Okay. The next day, on August the 1st, did you receive some information by way of a search warrant?
Yes, we had applied for a search warrant for Defendant Canada's cell phone records, and on that day, August the 1st, we received those records.
And what number, what number for the records that you received?
For Defendant Canada, the telephone number is 859-684-5161.
You indicated then that you received the additional camera angle for Danny Scott Liquor.
Yes.
Okay. And what angle did that particular camera show?
The last angle that we received was an angle that, again, was on the same side of the business, but it was pointed at, if a car was in the drive-through, it would point at the back of the car.
Okay. Did you then, in reviewing that video, get a license plate number for a silver car?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And what was the license plate number that you reviewed?
It was a Kentucky license plate number, and it was 857-MTJ.
Okay. And who did that license plate number come back to?
It came back to both Rayetta Hudson and Henry Hudson.
And who is Henry Hudson in relation to Rayetta Hudson?
I believe it's her grandfather.
Okay. And who did you learn Rayetta Hudson to be?
We knew Rayetta Hudson to be the girlfriend of Quincenio Canada.
Did you know where she lived?
Well, yes. We knew where she was. We also knew at that point where the car was registered to.
Okay.
And that was an address here in Fayette County on Dominican Drive.
Did you then get a search warrant for her car?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the point of getting a search warrant?
Well, at that point, we believed that vehicle had been used during the commission of a crime. And so we applied for a search warrant in district court here in Lexington. And based on the probable cause, that search warrant was granted.
And were you looking for something? I mean, what did you, when you were getting a search warrant for the car, what were you wanting to do with the car?
We were looking to try to identify the people that were in the car.
Okay. And then where was the car taken?
The car was located and it was towed to Bluegrass Towing here, which is a towing company that maintains a bay at their business per contract with the city for the forensic services unit to process vehicles.
Okay. Did you speak to Rayetta Hudson? I'm not asking you what she said, but did you speak with her?
Yes.
And how many times did you speak with her?
3, I believe.
Okay. Then let me ask you about August the 29th. What did you do on the 29th?
On August the 29th, Detective Upchurch and I traveled to McCreary County, Kentucky, for the purpose of making contact with Mitchell Smith, who is another victim in the Quality Inn robbery. We, like I discussed earlier, had already collected 5 shell casings from the other victim Hansford in the Quality Inn robbery, for the purpose of comparing those shell casings to the shell casing at Austin City parking lot on the night of the murder. Those shell casings went to the lab, as we discussed, and were compared.
And I'm not going to ask you what the result of that was.
Okay.
Okay. But at some point, based on your conversation with Mr. Pilcher, did you need to go back to McCreary County and collect additional shell casings?
Yes, we did. And so we did that. We met with Mitchell Smith in McCreary County and watched him fire his .45 caliber high point pistol, and we collected the 3 shell casings that he fired from that gun.
Okay. And let me go back a little bit because I think I forgot to ask you when we were talking about finding Brianna Hudson's car. Where ultimately did you end up finding that car?
We found that car, 401 Patchen Drive is an address that encompasses like a townhouse community where there are multiple units that have 401 Patchen Drive, and then they're individually numbered, number 1 through however many there are there. And in that parking lot at that townhouse community, we located Brianna Hudson's silver Chevrolet Malibu.
And is that address the same complex where you believe Quincy Canada lived as well?
Yes, we had reason to believe at that point that that's where defendant Canada resided.
There is, as we've kind of gone through and talked about the dates, and we're kind of starting in June, and we're kind of in August at this point. Are you not doing anything in between these particular dates, or is there still kind of things happening?
No, there's definitely things happening in between these dates. Now, I mean, we're talking about the end of August, the 29th is the last date that we discussed, but like I discussed earlier in my testimony, there was a lot of data and evidence that was collected from the beginning of the investigation to, like we talked about, video evidence and witness statements and so on and so forth. People's names came up. So in the cracks of these dates that we've discussed, myself and other members of the homicide unit and other members of the police department that were assisting the homicide unit were digesting this data, going through the video that had been collected, conducting interviews with individuals as their names came up in the investigation.
Okay, so on September the 2nd, and again, I'm not asking you specific information, but on September the 2nd, did you receive information that ATF had purchased a gun from Antonio Fry?
I did.
Okay. And was that gun turned over to the police department at some point?
Yes, 2 days later on the 4th. They took it into their custody on the 2nd. We were made aware of that, and then on 2 days later on the 4th, it was actually transferred over into our possession at the police department here in Lexington.
Did you make attempts to speak with Antonio Fry?
Yes. After the ATF had purchased this weapon from Antonio Fry, obviously as the investigator in the homicide where this gun had been used, we wanted to speak with Antonio Fry. Conversations were had between the United States Attorney's Office and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, in addition to the Lexington Police Department and the ATF, in regards to bringing Antonio Fry to the table to discuss primarily where this gun came from and what path this gun took to get into the hands of Antonio Fry. That was all set into motion with the agencies that I discussed. However, when brought to Antonio Fry, he refused to communicate or sit down or have a conversation or interview with any of us in regards to any information at all.
Okay. Detective Wolff, I'm going to show you what I've marked, 67, 68. I want 67 and 68. As part of your investigation, did you obtain a photo of Mr. Canada and Mr. Malazzo around the time of these events in question?
Yes, I did.
Okay, to show you Commonwealth's 67 first. And who was that a photograph of?
Defendant Quincinio Canada.
Okay, and that was him around the time of this.
That's correct.
Okay, and then I'm going to show you Commonwealth's 68. Who was that a photo of?
Defendant Dewan Malazzo.
Okay, and this also is a photograph of him around the time of these incidents.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And we introduced that in- Detective Wolff, in September of 2014, are you aware that these defendants were indicted on the Quality Inn robbery?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. Prior to that date, had their photos been on the news regarding this incident?
No.
Okay. Did you continue your investigation after September?
Absolutely.
Okay. On September the 26th, did you meet with the two defendants in order to obtain some buckle swaps?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. Who was with you?
I apologize, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, who was with you?
Detective Rob Wilson, who is another detective in the homicide unit.
Okay. Does Mr. Malazam give you a buckle swab?
He does, yes.
Okay. And does Mr. Canada give you a buckle swab?
Initially, no. Initially, defendant Canada refused to comply with the search warrant that had been issued to get the buccal swab from him.
And does eventually he comply with that?
Yes.
In your conversation with him, does he acknowledge whether or not he knows Dewan Malazam?
He actually, during the conversation, denied that he knew Dewan Malazam.
As you were finishing your conversation with the two of them, does Mr. Malazam say anything when he leaves?
Yes, as defendant Malazam was exiting the room that we were in, he yelled to defendant Canada and made the statement, "I love you, nephew."
At this point, this meeting and then the meeting before, you talked to Mr. Malazam twice, is that correct?
That was the second time that I spoke with Mr. Malazam, yes.
Okay. Did you notice whether he had gold teeth?
I did not, no.
Okay. Did you know anything else about him in terms of what he was wearing? Did you know he had a wedding band?
I noted after the first time that I spoke with defendant Malazam, I noted that he was wearing a gold wedding band on his left ring finger.
Okay. So then I asked you about whether or not you noticed that he gold teeth. Did he smile at you either time when you were meeting
No,
with him?
he did not.
Did you speak with Mr. Malazam's sister Nafisa at some point?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you talk with her?
I spoke with her on September the 30th of 2014.
Did you show her a video when you spoke with her?
Yes, I did.
And which video did you show to her?
I showed her the video at the Danny Scott liquor store and that camera angle that I discussed that shoots from inside the store through the drive-through window at the person that would be in a vehicle making a purchase at the pull-up drive-through.
I'm going to show you Common Law 44.
Yes.
Okay. And what do you recognize that to be?
That is a still image that's taken from the Danny Scott liquor store from the camera angle that I just described to you.
Okay. And is this the camera angle and video that you showed this along?
Yes, it is.
At this point, okay, so at this point, you said that you talked to the Peace Plaza on September the 3rd.
That's correct.
Okay. And at this point, have you reviewed the videos from Danny Scott Liquor?
I have.
And you had reviewed the videos from Mariana too?
I have, yes.
Okay. Had you also, at some point, seen a picture of Mr. Fry around this time frame of the June, July time frame?
Yes.
Do you recognize those?
Yes, these are two photographs that I've previously seen of Mr. Fry.
And as the lead detective, you had seen this photo, and I'm not asking anything other than have you seen it?
I have.
And have you seen that photo?
Yes.
And have you seen that photo with the license plate?
Yes, I have.
And have you seen this photo, front angle of Danny Scott?
Yes, I have.
And have you seen this photo here, also of the front angle of Danny Scott?
Yes, I have.
And have you seen this photo?
Yes, from Mariana.
And have you seen that photo?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you seen that photo?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you seen that photo?
Yes.
And have you seen that photo?
Yes.
And just, I would ask at this point to publish these photos to the jury. I think that all introduced, and I have been publishing Lieutenant Richardson. In January of 2015, did you talk to an individual named Antonio Wolff?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and I'm not gonna ask you what he said just yet. I'm sorry, Antoine Wolff. Okay. And then in May, did you conduct some re-interviews?
Yes, of Marietta Hudson.
Okay. And did you also re-interview Jerome Slaughter?
Yes, ma'am.
And then on June the 23rd of 2015, were these two defendants indicted?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Had you arrested them prior to that for this charge?
No.
Okay. Had their faces been on the news for this charge prior to that?
No, ma'am.
In the course of your investigation, did you obtain a date of birth for Mr. Canada?
Yes. It's March the 4th of 1992.
Okay. And what about Mr. Malata?
It is August the 14th of 1983.
Judge, at the moment, that's the extent of my questions. We may need a break for them to review something.
Looks like all the jurors and present, attorneys ready for a roll call. Yes. All right, everyone may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, had an issue come up that we need to take care of tonight, so we're gonna let you all go for the evening. During this overnight recess, we're gonna ask that you do not discuss this case among yourselves, do not form any opinions or conclusions about the matter that has not been found and submitted to you. Do not read or listen to any news accounts should they appear in the media. Do not communicate via social media regarding this case, and please do not conduct any independent investigation. This is a legal matter that I need to address, so please don't read anything into it or be upset with the other parties. It just happens sometimes. So we will reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. You can remove your buttons, pads, and chairs, or buttons, pads, and supposed to be removing the chairs, and I will see you all in the morning. All right, the court and council will take up the issue in the morning at 9 o'clock. Once you all had an opportunity to do, take care of what we talked about at the end, so I'll see you all at 9 a.m. We will discuss how to proceed. You'll be available on the mornings
Yes, ma'am.
at 9 o'clock. All
Okay.
right? Thank you all. We're adjourned.